Well, the two witnesses are mentioned in Revelation chapter 11, starting in verse 3. It says, "And I will grant authority to my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days." So that's a 3.5 year period. And so I believe the two witnesses are Moses and Elijah. Now, some people thought, the early church, for example, that it was Enoch and Elijah, using the rationale that Enoch did not die; he was taken to heaven, and therefore would be able to come back to planet Earth later, and neither did Elijah. But I think the better understanding is Moses, which represents the Mosaic Law, and Elijah, which represents the prophets, because Elijah was the first of the prophets. And you have passages like Malachi. I always say he's the Italian prophet, Malachi, but it's actually Malachi. And this is the last book in the Old Testament, chronologically. It was the end of the Old Testament, where it says in chapter 4, verses 4 and 5, it says, "Remember the law of Moses, my servant, even the statutes and ordinances which I commanded him at Horeb for all Israel. Behold, I'm going to send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord. And he will restore the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the land with a curse." And so this is, Elijah's clearly, everyone agrees Elijah is going to be one of those two witnesses. But here you have Moses mentioned in the same context where he's talking about that. And also, when you have the Mount of Transfiguration in Matthew 17, who appears on the Mount of Transfiguration? Moses and Elijah. Starting in Matthew 17:10, it says, his disciples ask him, saying, "Why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" See, they're referring to that ending of the Old Testament. And he answered and said, "Elijah is coming and will restore all things. But I say to you that Elijah already came and you did not recognize." And that was John the Baptist that he's talking about there. And also, when they were on the Mount of Transfiguration, Moses was also the other one who appeared. In verse 3 of chapter 17, "And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him." And so you can see, I like Peter's response. He says, "Lord, it is good for us to be here." No kidding. But nevertheless, it appears to me that Moses and Elijah are the ones that are going to come, and they're going to play a major role of leading Jewish people to Christ at the second part of the tribulation. And also, they're going to protect the temple.